This is the Four Wheel Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition, powered by Polaris RZR. We're taking it back to the roots, getting dirty and covering all things off-road, because pavement, well, that's for it's gloves off, in your face, on the edge, and the way off-road should be. We're your definitive source for all things dirt.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself, or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.
What is happening? Welcome to the Four Wheel Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition, powered by Polaris RZR. Jim Beaver here, holding it down with, I don't know what episode of the podcast we're in, but I don't know, we're in there, 15 episodes maybe? Probably getting pretty close. Anyways, bringing a guy that is actually a teammate of mine there at Polaris RZR, Mr. Al McBeth. Yeah, he's on the ambassador side, not on the racing side. There's a split there. There's the RZR Racers, the RZR Ambassadors. And the thing about us ambassadors, that's where I fall into things. We're also racers, too. We tend to race different things, various things. But Al, man, this guy, you guys know him. He's gone viral on social media. He and I would say Tanner Godfrey, probably the two foremost experts in jumping razors. I mean, Al, this guy he just sends it. Worth following him just flat to watch what the hell he's going to come up with. But, yeah, we got Al McBeth on the podcast today. I don't know, it's a quite lengthy interview. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I got a lot going on, man. We pumped out a couple of shows this week. Got Vicky Golden over there on the national show. You definitely want to check that one out. And then also Jason freaking Ellis. I got him on Project Action this week as well. So, man, we got a loaded lineup across all three shows. Check them out over on iTunes. Hit the subscribe button to the Down and Dirty Show. You'll get both the national show and the off-road edition. And then hit up Project Action. That's where you get that Jason Ellis interview. Man, he and I kind of go off the rails talking all kinds of stuff. So I think you guys are going to enjoy those. Give me a follow at JimBeaver15 on social media. And, yeah, man, I got a lot cranking here. So we're going to roll right into this interview right after this commercial break. You want extreme performance, reliability, and the most fun you can have on four wheels? The Polaris RZR brings it to you. But you don't need to take my word for it. You can take theirs.
I'm Tanner Faust, and I choose the Polaris RZR because it's the most fun you can have with a steering wheel.
What's up? I'm Ronnie Renner, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the sickest, most reliable side-by-side on the planet.
What's up, everybody? Heavy D from Diesel Brothers. Listen, I'm on Team RZR because it's hands down the best piece of machinery on the planet.
I'm RJ Anderson, and I choose Polaris RZR because it's the most fun, most capable machine.
Action sports stars, TV personalities, and some of the best race car drivers in the world all choose Polaris RZR because it's the ultimate combination of power, suspension, agility, and fun. Find out more information on the web at PolarisRZR.com or follow at Polaris RZR on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and use the hashtag RazorLife to share your story. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out VisionWheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more. Anywhere is possible. It's more than just a slogan. Anywhere is possible with General Tire's wide variety of tires for whatever it is that you drive. Whether you're looking for off-road capability balanced with impressive on-road performance or ultra-high performance offering all-season traction designed with a driving enthusiast in mind, General Tire has what you need to get where you're going. General Tire, providing anywhere is possible with the Down and Dirty Radio Show since 2012. Do you race or are you a weekend warrior? Have you checked on the date on your helmet recently? Don't get caught off guard by using an outdated helmet. Impact Racing, the leader in motorsport safety, has new SA 2015 helmets to fit your budget. Whether you're looking for a helmet with a full carbon fiber shell to take you to victory at the Indy 500
or are just looking for some helmets for a weekend at Glamis, Impact Racing has a helmet for you. Find out more information at impactraceproducts.com or on Facebook at Impact Safety.
Super ATV is the industry leader in aftermarket UTV and ATV parts and accessories. Super ATV products are designed, engineered, tested, and manufactured right here by Super ATV. Whether you're looking to upgrade your suspension, get stronger axles, or you're looking for a new winch to get you out of a tough spot, Super ATV has what you're looking for. And since we know you're in a hurry, we offer fast, free shipping to the lower 48 states on all orders. Visit superatv.com now and get your UTV or ATV dialed in. All right, I'd like to welcome one of my guests this week to the Foil Parts Down and Dirty Show, powered by Polaris RZR, Off-Road Edition. Al McBeth, man, good to have you back. I think it's probably been right around a year since we've had you on. I don't know. I'm going to have to think back, but I think it was right after like ERX last year, which I think is this weekend. So I think we're probably cutting it close to a year.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on again, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, well, I know you've been busy. I know you were out at Sturgis. We'll talk about that. Then you had a big jump there in Oregon, man. I don't know what I know. I pulled up Polaris's website, and they got this thing ambassador and this and that. But I don't know. You're kind of like me. You stay pretty damn busy one week to another, right?
We're definitely busy. That's the craziest part about all this is just how busy we are between running the shop and doing all the events and trying to get a little bit of time just to go out and even play on the razors. That it's crazy, man. There's not a second on board.
Well, and I think that's kind of what's funny because, I know, like, guys like you and I, we're fortunate enough. Polaris, sends us new units and things like that. And we've got these rad play machines, but then, like you said, you've got the business and stuff like that. And I think people think they're like, all right, Al, that guy, he just gets to go out 7 days a week in his razors and just spin donuts and have fun. And I'm like, man, if I could get out like 7 times in 2 months, like I'm calling that an accomplishment,
Absolutely. My list keeps getting longer. I always have ideas that come into my head of edits and all this stuff that I want to do. And for other people as well. And the list is just getting so long and just you got to start, okay, what's the most important here? What do I got to get done? Because there's just literally not enough time in the day. I need like 36-hour days. I think it'd be good if I had a 36-hour day.
Yeah. I had somebody, we were talking about that. I'm like, if they could take if I could actually get 24 hours out of a day, then stuff would start getting accomplished. But I just run short, and it's like, and you're like me, you run a business, and it's like, yeah, I could hire another person, and that would help the load. But it's like, where do I find the money to hire the other person? And it's like, man, it's like this vicious cycle we're in.
Totally, and I'm fortunate enough to have some real good help at the shop, but we are always looking for more, really, because it just keeps expanding. But yeah, I figure if I could quit eating and quit sleeping, I'd have something.
Yeah, well, and see, yeah, no, I get that. And see, like, I'm in Arizona, and I'm lucky. Like, I've got the desert a mile away from my house, and I could actually drive the razors out to the desert. But like, sometimes I don't even get home till like 7 o'clock at night. And and it's one of those where even though it's a mile away, like, it's still like I hate to say it's hard to get out there by the time night rolls around or something. I need, like, in my dream here is to get like the Pastrana setup where literally I've got all these ramps and jumps and a track in my backyard, so I can literally just like go home, jump in the razor, and like I'm 5 feet away from having fun. That's like my dream there. I need that compound. I haven't been able to make it happen yet.
That's what I've got. It's maybe not quite the size of Pastrana's, but I do have a full compound at my property that is easy to get to. And then we also I back onto a big chunk of green belt, so we've got trails and everything. But it's still, you still got to throw a helmet on, you still got to get out and do it. I'm really lucky I have it here though, because I wouldn't be able to get all the testing done that I even get done on these cars if it wasn't.
Yeah, well, and that's, you guys have the shop, so obviously you're doing some R&D and stuff like that, but I didn't realize you had a compound. You got to bring me in the loop here. What's this McBeth compound look like, man? Obviously I'm assuming you got a few ramps and some hits and stuff like that there?
Yeah, you bet. It's a real testing zone for a whole variety of our products, but also when we're testing for the jump cars, it's all about, jumping them and seeing how they react in the air, all the different stuff we do. So I've got what do I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, four UTV ramps set up here. A couple big dirt hits. We've got whoop sections to test the desert cars out for, the Baja kind of terrain. I'm actually getting a big sand section brought in here so that we can start getting some of the paddle tires tested on a lot of the cars that we build that go down to, run the dunes. It's kind of hard to send myself or a customer away and then expect them to get their clutching tuned in down in the dunes where it's so much different than, up here in the dirt. So we're getting about probably a 800-foot sand run in for that. Yeah, man, it's a little bit of everything, really.
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize. Like, they follow you on Instagram and they follow you for the jumps. I mean, and it's like, and that's, that's what you're known for. But, you got this whole, animal there in concept, you know what I mean? That you guys actually, you do have a day job, and it's building these badass razor parts and stuff like that. I mean, tell us a little bit about what you guys actually do at Concept, because I think most people think of Al and they think of jumping razors. I don't think they realize, like, there's this whole business behind it.
Yeah, there's definitely a business behind it. That's kind of how it all began. Is or how the jumping became. I say was to, we were really out testing Concept's parts. We were building stuff, and I cannot sell a part that I'm not faithful on. And so we were like, all right, you guys want to see how tough our stuff is, because there was, you've always got competition out there. It's just that's the business. So I was like, I'm gonna prove how tough our stuff is. So we started jumping, and then there were some crashes obviously involved, but it kind of started legitimizing the product itself. Here at Concept, what do we do? I mean, we're a distributor, we're a manufacturer, and we also have a website. So I think we're getting best known for our roll cages these days. We definitely sell roll cages all over the world. Now suspension parts, and then that kind of stuff. And then also, on part of our shop, we do builds, we do repairs, we do anything and everything, based on side-by-sides.
Yeah, well, and one thing I'll say about your roll cages, too, I know we've talked about, I've got this car I'm building for Hammers next year, and kind of got shelved for this year, and we're building it for next year. But you're like, hey, dude, let us do a cage. And I started looking, I'm like, man, your stuff, like, there's cages out there, and there's a lot of cages out there, but then there's your guys' cages. And I looked at yours, and I look at everything else, I'm like, yeah, if I was going to go end over end, I think I want it to be in one of Al's cages or one of the Concept cages rather than some of this other stuff. Like, you guys have built stuff to take some hits. I mean, and obviously there's guys that do recreational stuff, and they don't quite need something but I mean, your stuff is meant for high speed, high impact tumbles. I mean, you can visually see the difference, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I thanks for that, and I agree. We definitely we don't make as much money on our cages for that exact reason. We kind of go one step above. We don't charge for TIG welding. We don't charge for all the extra gusseting. It's just part of keeping people safe out there to the best of our ability. And it not only does it help me sleep at night, but I just, I can easily and truthfully say that we build a really good product.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mentioned TIG welding, because it's like it's a true story here. I know how to TIG weld, and I don't know how to weld anything else. And most people are like, well, that's bass backwards. Well, I grew up in a race shop where my dad was building, Class 8s and stuff like that. And, and I was 12, and he told me, when you're 12, I'll teach you how to weld. And so I go, and, here's MIG welders, and we got, he's got arc welders and buzz boxes. He's got all kinds of crap. And he goes, all right, this is what you need to learn how to do. And I said, wasn't that other one easier? My dad's like, he's like, you learn how to TIG weld. You don't have to learn to weld anything else. He's like, literally learn to TIG weld. And he's like, you got everything licked. He's like, you can do the best welding there is, and he's like, you don't have to worry about anything else. So true story. I actually, I know how to TIG weld because my dad said, if you're building race cars, this is what you need to know how to do. But then I went to college, and I actually got a business degree, but I walked to the welding shop because I needed an elective, and walked in, and the guy's like, yeah, he's like, we need to start you out on oxyacetylene and, and arc welding. And then you take some MIG class and work you up to TIG. And I'm like, I already know how to TIG. And he's like, well, I still need, I was like, no, I was like, let me TIG weld. And the guy's like, I need to start you out on those. And I was like, I don't know how to do those. And he looks at me, he's like, how do you know how to TIG and you don't know how to do anything else? I'm like, he's like, all right, I'll put you in the TIG class, but he's like, you got to sit down, and he's like, I want to watch you weld. So I went and I TIG welded. The guy looked at me, he's like, this is the oddest thing I've ever heard of, but he's like, I'm going to put you in advanced TIG, and he's like, and bypass all those others, but he's like, I can't give you a welding certificate at the end of this because you don't know how to do anything else. I'm like, I'm good with it, dude. He's like, I was like, I'm just here for the fun. And welding instructor's mind was blown, but I'm like, this goes back to your whole thing. Like, we TIG weld our cages, and I'm like, man, like, that's a step, because most of the guys in the industry, it's like, yeah, we're gonna MIG them so we can burn them out, you know what I mean, and put them out there. Not saying the welds are bad. I'm just saying, like you said, there's a little bit of a difference, you know.
Yeah, definitely a difference visually and structurally, and it's weird. I don't know if I live in an area that's just got a bunch of freaks rolling around here or what, but I mean, our cages get tested, and I mean, not just by me. Like, we have so many customers that just absolutely pick up their new machines and end over end these things within half an hour of having them, and we've really, I mean, that's helped our business grow because we've seen what's weak, where's the fail points, and that's one of the reasons we came out with the removable B pillars for the Polarises. We've just seen that, just due to a normal roll cage design, that front brow of the cage is always going to be a weak point, and but a lot of guys don't want solid doors, which would add a lot more structure. So we kind of started designing these B pillars that come from that top brow, go down beside your steering wheel, and then connect to that joint in the Polaris frame, and then put a little V in there for some support, and that just adds a ton of strength. So I kind of give people when they walk into the shop and we get talking about what their riding style is, I kind of give them the 3-step program of, if they're going to be riding like this, they need this. If they're going to be riding like this, they need this. And if they think they're going to be doing what I'm doing, then they need this.
Well, and how did you get into the whole UTV thing? So we'll get into what you're doing now and some of the jumping and stuff like that. But like, your background was on 2 wheels, right? You used to ride dirt bikes and do some FMX, and give me the background here, because I think that was a transition to 4 wheels for you from 2, right?
Absolutely. I was an avid dirt biker for almost my whole life. I mean, I was a kid with the pictures of Jeremy McGrath and everyone on my walls and we lived and we breathed dirt bikes through the whole, I'm going to say from 92 to 2008. Got into freestyle skiing pretty heavily. I raced motocross. I did all that. But as we kind of grew older, the crew, I'm going to say, kind of started tapering off. A lot of guys were getting badly injured. Lost some buddies in there, and it was just the crew was getting thin. Everyone was, kind of going their different directions. I like making money, and it's hard to make money when you're hurt. And then all of a sudden, this Polaris RZR S model comes out in 2008 or 9, I think it was 2008, and I jumped in it, and we were in this thing like 5 minutes, and we were at this little track thing, and we were already jumping it. And I just instantly knew life had changed. I was like, wow. I was like, this thing's badass. And so went and bought one. And then we immediately put up some freestyle ramps and started side by side and started hucking the RZR off a freestyle ramp. And it went really well. Like, it was just really well. But then, obviously we started breaking stuff, and we played around with the 800 for a while. And then the 900s came out. And at that point, the racing was starting to, become a little bit more predominant up in Canada. And so we started racing the 900s at the track. Well, I mean, racing's just as hard as on these things as anything. And so we were breaking parts. And so I was starting to build my own parts because I wasn't having a lot of luck getting stuff elsewhere that was holding up for me anyway. And I was doing really well at the racing. So, it was kind of one of those things that everyone wanted the parts that I was building. And it kind of snowballed from there. All of a sudden we've got a business, and we're building these things, and it just, and now here we are.
Yeah. Well, and I got to ask you, like, we'll get into the jumping, but you said you immediately started hitting ramps and stuff. And like I got to tell you, like as a truck guy, like I've jumped a trophy truck probably close to 200 feet. We've never measured it out, but probably close to that. And it's easy. Like I mean, it legitimately is easy. Anybody can do it, and I say that and I totally mean it. It's not hard to jump a trophy truck 200 feet. It's kind of one of those, like, as long as you land it straight, the problem is people get into trouble at high speeds and that's when the accidents happen. But anybody legitimately point it straight. But with a RZR jumping at 200 feet, like even jumping RZRs 50, 75 feet, man, like it was an adjustment for me. They don't fly like a trophy truck does. They're squirrely, man. And that's like what blows my mind with you, like with your jumps, like I would jump a truck 200, 300 feet, no problem, no questions asked. Let's go and do it. You start getting up those Menzies, like world record stuff. I'm not interested in that, but like 250 feet in a trophy truck's nothing. But you, dude, what you're doing in a RZR, like even your short jumps that you're playing around with, like I'm a RZR guy. I want nothing to do with it, Al. Like, but I wonder if you coming from like two wheels to the RZR, like you were used to the kind of that sketchiness. Like, I don't know, man. Does it, like, to me, there's got to be a little bit of a transition there that's closer to a dirt bike than there actually is coming from a truck,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there is. Dirt biking kind of taught me timing, and it also, I'm going to screw this word up, but being familiar in the air, let's say.
Yeah.
There is a lot of control on these little buggies, man. There's you got gas, you got brake, you got how you're leaving the takeoff. That's all the same as on a dirt bike. Maybe not to the extent of full control, but it's very close. And then where I kind of shine is being as I do this for a living, and I'm always on these things. I'm able to set my cars up the way that I like them, and I watch some of the other guys out there that are kind of going back and forth between companies, and they're like, no, it's doing this, and they're trying to explain like what's happening, and the company's just like, well, they have no idea. I always found that was something that made me almost one with my machines. That I could hit a jump, be like, no, this needs tweaked. Go back, tweak it, hit it again. Be like, yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, and I don't know. It's just, is there a point too, like you watch these videos, like, because I mean, you started jumping, and I mean, I've watched you progressively push and things like that. Is there a point where you look and you're like, damn, like that's pretty far? Like, is there ever been a point where you just kind of like sketched out on it? Because I see the run up to some of these, and I mean the lip, and I'm like, you're hitting these things fast, and I mean, there's got to be in the run up at some point where you're like, you start questioning yourself, right? I mean, is there any of that goes on?
Yeah. There's been some very sketchy jumps over the years, no question. They haven't all been glory, and yeah, I mean it comes with it, especially you know what, we've got our ramp scene pretty dialed in. The sketchiest ones, honestly, are a lot of time are the sand or the natural terrain ones, where it's just there's a little bump underneath that you don't know about, or the you need a certain speed to get off the face, but then you hit the bottom and it's too much of a transition and just robs all your speed. You're kind of already going. You're like, I'm just going to hold in it and see what happens. It's the natural terrain stuff definitely makes it a little bit more interesting. But I mean, it's part of it, and I mean that's why we build the structures that we build, and especially on a car like Medusa. That I'm fully prepared to take a tumble in that car. That's why it was built. So you just kind of trust your equipment, and if stuff goes sideways, you're along for the ride.
Yeah, well, and talking about that, I know just I'm sure a lot of it too, like especially these natural terrain jumps, like you hit the lip and you instantly know, like just with the way you go off the lip, hey, this is going to be a wild ride, or hey, I think we're probably okay. And like you said, I mean the landing there's always the landing, especially in natural terrain. You never know when the car bottoms if there's something there or whatever. But I mean a lot of these, you've got to know right off the lip whether hey we're looking pretty good or this may turn sketch.
Yeah, usually you know pretty quick. If you feel the gyre of the car starting to go on you, usually you either do a brake tap or a gas hit to see if you can get it back, and even the timing on how quickly you can assess that is a huge factor. But Yeah, it's I'd say halfway through it, if you're hooked or not.
Yeah. Well, now how did the whole relationship? Because I know you talked about you went out and bought your first razor and you started kind of going down that path. And I mean, like you were a razor guy long before you were actually quote unquote a factory razor guy. And it's kind of like me. Like I'd been in razors for a long time, and then like the whole thing with the razor happened, and it was like it was organic because it wasn't like I was in somebody else's products or something like that. Like it was pretty seamless. You know what I mean? I was already ambassador for the product long before I was actually being paid to be an ambassador for the product. I mean, how did that whole conversation with you happen? Because I mean, you were doing these jumps long before Polaris kind of got involved with you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were from Polaris from day one, just because I mean their products were so advanced. I mean, what else was even close to a Razor 800, 900, 1000 for that matter? You know what I mean? Even now, I mean, look at the Turbo S. Like, it's pretty easy to jump on board with a company that's just kicking ass and taking names that effectively. I'd say anyway. So yeah, it was the conversation with them. We were kind of doing our thing, and we started talking to some people at Polaris, and it took a while. I mean, and no disrespect to them. I mean, I was just some Canadian at that point, right? But then we got that first record under our belt, and I think it kind of started getting a little more realistic, and that's when the talks got a lot more serious.
Yeah. Well, and talking about the record, I know I mean there's. I just look at it, and it's kind of like to the point where, I mean, you ever feel like it's getting out of control? I know even RJ, like at one point, he was a world record holder, and he told me, he's like, dude, I'm bowing out of this. Like, he's like, you've got to really dedicate. And I know like you and Godfrey's have really, really pushed. And, is there ever a point where, I mean, you guys are, I mean, you're pushing the limits like crazy now, and it's like, I mean, to me, it's unheard of in side-by-sides what you guys are doing, on a pretty regular basis. You know what I mean? There's got to come a point where you guys are actually, I mean, you're putting in the work. It's not like you just go out and do this. I mean, it's you guys are starting to look at ramp angles and wind and, you know what I mean, and all kinds of geometry. And, I mean, there's got to be some science to it now, right?
Oh, yeah, big time. For me, when the ramps got involved, it was always science to it. It was never just a case, especially when we were getting into the big gaps. Like, it was never a case of just reckless abandonment. It was always recorded. Every aspect of the journey has been recorded, and I got a jump book that's just full of data of all these hits and what happened and distances and angles and everything. It's not even, in my opinion, it's not even close to being out of hand yet. I've got obviously something planned to what would be the word for it, to come back at what Tanner just did, and we'll see where that ends up. That it won't be small, I can guarantee you that. And then we'll see who comes back at that, and then I'd say one or two more, back and forth, and it'll start getting out of hand.
So we're not quite to that point yet, right?
No, I really, I mean, I'm just gonna throw it out there that, in my opinion, we still got, we can do 350 with a UTV fairly easily and safely, I would say.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because like it seems like 400 is kind of that magical number. I mean, whether it be snowmobiles like Levi, dirt bikes, obviously we saw Axel, and he was kind of going for that mark, and things happened there at here a couple of days ago. But Bryce is jumping the truck. It seems like kind of 400 is that like magical number where it's like people can kind of get to that point, and then it's like you really start pushing after that, and it's like things turn really, really hairy.
Yeah, physics become more involved at the speeds. It's not. I mean, there's two things there's three ways to look at it. Height, distance, and speed. And like Bryce's jump was so badass. To be going the speed he was going, but then to watch when the speed actually turned the vehicle into a plane. And that was when his, crash happened. It's all about design at that point. It's all about literally turning them into a sort of a plane and making sure at that point too that you do got a bit of control, because that's something I've been working on for a long time is the aerial control. And I noticed on that last jump, a lot of people are starting to notice it, but how much control I actually have in the air, because no matter how you set your suspension up, no matter how the jump is, it doesn't take much for things to get a little bit sideways when you're doing these big gaps. And if you can't control that, you're going for a ride.
Yeah, for sure. So, with all this jumping and stuff like that, I mean, do you feel like you go to a place like Oregon, you know what I mean? Where you guys were at, and you did this, huge jump there, and everybody's seen the videos at this point and stuff like that. But do you feel like now, like, Al can't go to an event and not, like, I feel like you go and people have these expectations of you now, right? Like, do you ever feel like you can just go and have fun, or do you always feel like, man, I got to have my A game on anytime I show up to one of these events because people are expecting a show? It's not like you can just go and bomb around the dunes and have some fun,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, you know what? I think I put more pressure on myself than I think anybody else does. I'm pretty competitive, and for me to go out and not to win, or just to put on less of a performance than I think I could have put on, I bet you I'm my own worst critic. So I've got honestly nothing but love from people out at these events. It's been amazing. The families, the kids, just the fans in general. I mean, it's honestly being a bit surreal lately, just how much fan mail, I guess you could even say that I'm getting. So you can still go out and have fun. But, as I said, I'm the one that wants to perform more than I think anybody.
Yeah. Well, and all this jumping and stuff like that we're talking about, I mean, you're a racer at heart. I mean, any chance, I know you've gone and raced Baja, and obviously you talked about some of the stuff you've done up there in Canada, but I got to think at some point, like, you want to get a race program back going, right?
Yes, it's definitely in the plan. Now, I did kind of tell myself that this year we're going to concentrate a little more on the jumps and kind of see how far we could push that. So far, so good. I am gonna concentrate on the jumping a little bit here, just because I got a list that I want to polish off, and it's this stuff doesn't take it takes time, and it takes money, and it takes there's a lot of fails for every video that comes out that people see that's good. So I've kind of got to get this list down a bit. Absolutely. My racing could be, that's kind of I don't even want to say if my body can't handle jumping anymore, because, it's been pretty good so far, but that was, almost a plan B is once we get all this stuff done with the jump part, we could get back maybe into the racing again.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I mean, obviously, Sturgis wrapped up. We had Oregon kind of wrap up. What's next for you the rest of this year? I mean, obviously, you got the business up there in Canada. We're going to see you down here in the States again. What's the plans for you, buddy?
So we've got, let's see. I don't think we're allowed to talk about some of them.
Yeah.
But,
we're on the same group text. I know we're on the same group text. So it's like, we're sworn to secrecy.
Yeah, so
Evan, if you're listening, buddy, we're not talking about it. So
we're going to be down in the States here pretty quick for a little event coming up, and then actually coming home and then jumping right in my truck and driving straight to Sturgis from there. We're going to do the Sturgis thing. Got a pretty cool little jump that's going to be going on down there, as well as the rest of the UTV takeover scene. There's everything from mud drags to hill climbs to rally course racing, short course racing. Sturgis is going to be a big one. And then coming home from that, we've got the Warfighter Main Boys coming up here again for another little ride along session off the ramps. And we got a real cool different mountain terrain we're going to take them in this year. And then I'll get done that, and then head down to Idaho for UTV Invasion. Going to get finished off of that. Hopefully that goes as successful as I'm planning, and then we'll head down to Camp Razor in Glamis, and then from Camp Razors down to Race the Ball 1000.
Man, you get your schedule sounds about like mine. It's like you almost gotta. It's like if you don't put it in the calendar, it's like you lose your mind, right? It's yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah, the calendar's pretty full.
Yeah,
miles in the truck. There's no question about that. But you know what? It's tons of fun, and I'm learning how to multitask a bit too. Because just because I'm on the road doesn't mean I can't be working.
yeah. Well, and it's the point too. Like obviously, it all kind of ties in. You're doing all this and can be considered marketing for the business, right? So it's like you got to go out, you got to do these events, you got to do these jumps and things like that because it all ties back into concept and keeping customers coming through the door.
Yeah, tell my accountant that. You need to tell my accountant that she's not digging these write-offs.
Oh man. Well, Al, man, it's always fun catching up, buddy. Stoked to have you back on the show. I know we need to do it more often than once a year. That's for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. Hopefully, with in light of the next few months here, hopefully we'll have another something to talk about.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're at some of these events together, man. We can actually see each other in person because I think it's about once or twice a year we actually see each other. So, we're on the same team, and we just never see each other. Always crossing the country back and forth and waving as we go by, I think.
Yeah, just waving from the plane window.
Yeah, exactly, man. All right, Al. Well, I appreciate the time, my friend. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Good talking to you.
Oh, man, that was a hell of a ride. Go check out mymedic.com for the best first aid kits on the planet and save 15% with discount code Jim Beaver. Again, mymedic.com, discount code Jim Beaver, and save 15%. It's cheaper than a funeral.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound at the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Looking to have some fun on four wheels? Dirtfish Rally School has you covered. Packing as much adrenaline and adventure as you can handle into high-performance all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive Subaru rally cars is where the fun begins at Dirtfish. Just 30 minutes outside of Seattle in Snoqualmie, you'll get a chance to train up to 3 full days with some of the country's best instructors and be put through the high-octane rush of rally on mud, dirt, and tarmac. Get started today and call 425-888-7715 or visit us online at dirtfish.com and use code 911 for a 15% discount. And that's all she wrote this week on the Four Wheel Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition, powered by Polaris RZR. Big shout out to my good friend there, Al McBeth, for calling into the show. And thank you guys for listening in. Once again, head over to iTunes, hit the subscribe button, and you'll get both the Off-Road Edition and my national show. Check out Project Action. We had Jason Ellis this week. Vicki Golden was my guest over on the other show and on the national show. And give me a follow at Jim Beaver 15. We got we got a lot of stuff coming up. Keep tabs on social media and the website downanddirtyshow.com. And, you'll find out what the hell we have been up to, that's for sure. But, we are, I guess we're going to sign off this week. I know this one a little bit shorter than some of the past episodes. All killer, no filler, man. Filled it with an Al McBeth interview. Doesn't get much better than that, right? All right, guys. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time right here on the Four Wheel Parts Down and Dirty Show Off-Road Edition, powered by Polaris RZR.
4WP is more than a store. We're truck and Jeep experts and have been for over 50 years. From wheel and tire upgrades to full custom builds, 4WP has you covered. Whether you want to order the best parts online or shop in store, do the work yourself or get it done by a pro, all roads lead to 4WP. Do your rig right. Shop online or find your store at 4WP.com.